If only I could control my appetite, then I would be healthy. If only I didn't succumb. If only I didn't feel hungry. If only, if only, if only. That's the conversation I had with someone in the office several years ago as we were talking about how to be metabolically healthy. And she said to me, Dr. Woode, if you could help me control my appetite, then if I wasn't hungry, then I could lose weight. And we worked with her, and she did. And she lost over 100 pounds. So understanding the science of hunger is very important. And we're going to spend some time tonight talking in this episode about the science of hunger, understanding why it matters, understanding how the body works, and what we can do to set ourselves up for success metabolically as we reverse our diabetes. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. If you're new to me, that's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to reverse your diabetes. Hey, if you're new to me as well, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we are happy that you're here. If you have questions as we move throughout the episode, go ahead and drop those in the comments. Make sure you put a Q in front of it so that we'll know that that is a question. I am in the process of a 72-hour fast, as you know how we do. And I've got some things that we're going to look at here in just a minute. I've got my meters that are off to the side, and then right below me is my Dexcom Clarity report that we'll look at here in just a little while and see how things have been going over the last several days. So I'm excited to be here. Great conversation that we're having. And in fact, what I'm doing is we're kicking off a mini series within this series. We've been doing the fasting. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I am helping to understand what is going on when we are hungry. How does the body regulate this? And so we're going to be doing that over the next several check-ins that we do. We'll talk about what that schedule looks like here in just a little while. But I do see that we have some community members out there, so I want to say hello. So let's hop over and let's see. Let's do this one and say hello to some folks that we have. So Jennifer is saying howdy. Steve saying howdy, Jennifer. And Steve is already popping in what he thinks. I think, Steve, is that my ketones or are those yours? But he's got a 0.5 in there. Jennifer says, too funny, Steve. Steve said, got to get ahead of the game. So I guess he's thinking that those are going to be my ketones. And Jennifer said, no fasting this week. I've been stress eating. And that's a perfect segue, Jennifer, to what we're going to be talking about tonight in terms of hunger and so forth. And it's a stressful time, right? So as we move into the holiday season, even as we are coming out of that big event that happened here in the U.S., our elections, it's a time of stress, concern for a lot of people, and food is that comfort that we have, right? It never disappoints. It's always available. It doesn't talk back to us. We can always go to it, and it's there. Okay. So Jennifer, I hear you, and I'll share a little bit with you in my fasting journey over the last several days. So let's go back over, and Steve says, got to get ahead. Okay. And Steve said mine was 1.5 this morning. Okay, so Steve, very good. Okay. So let's as we do, go ahead and give a little backdrop to what we're doing in this space. And so one of the most devastating diseases that we have is diabetes. And with diabetes comes a lot of other metabolic issues, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, and so on and so forth. Around the country, there are 38 million people that are diabetic, over 98 million that are pre-diabetic, and around the world, over 1 billion people suffer from the combination of those two, pre-diabetes and diabetes. And so the question that we have is, what is the problem? What are we doing? How are we going about um, dealing with this issue? And how do we become better? How do we set ourselves up for success? And so in the New Year process, we have been talking about reversing diabetes. How do we improve your metabolic health? And that's what this is all about. Several of the tools that we've learned are with the intention of reversing diabetes, getting off of medication, improving our metabolism, and setting ourselves up for health success. But one of the most powerful tools that we have is the tool of fasting. And it's powerful because it hits all of the pillars, right? There are three that we talk about when we talk about diabetes. One is decreasing insulin, two, suppressing appetite, and three, reversing or reducing sugar. And all of those are hit by fasting. And so fasting is a powerful tool that we've been using. And so this process that we're doing now is how are we going to be successful in fasting, and understanding the various facets, the various angles, the various concepts that are going on in our body helps us to be able to fast better. So as you understand how your body works, as you understand how this plays into all of the downstream issues that we may run into, that helps us. Remember, our platform, educating, empowering, and encouraging. And education is with the idea of providing information so that we can look at things a little differently, take a little different perspective, and that gives us empowerment as we move into the space of being metabolically healthy. Okay? So that's what we're doing. And so as I do my check-ins, as we do our check-ins on a week-to-week basis, what we're doing is we're building on. Each episode is a building block that we are putting, a piece of the puzzle that we're putting together that allows us more tools, to learn more tools, to get better understanding on how our body works. And if we can understand that, then we can make some choices that set us up for metabolic success and for healthy, long life. Remember? So what we say, we're educating, empowering, and encouraging, right? Take charge of your health and your life. Avoid complications and go to the next level. So that's the goal. And one of the big things is reversing diabetes. Why diabetes? Diabetes is a prototypic metabolic disease. If we can treat that, if we can set that and get that working in the proper way, then we set ourselves up for metabolic success. All right? All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what's been going on. And I am now, let's see. So let's back up and let's talk about what's been going on in the last several days. So when I did my show on Monday, I was fasting, or I started fasting, and so the plan was I was starting fasting on Monday, and that would continue into the rest of the week, right? So an extra day. Well, yesterday, last night, I ended up eating. So Jennifer talked about stress eating. Yes. Right. So last night I broke my fast a little over 24 hours. And so I ate. And so I'm in the fast again. So I started my fast over. So I did a 25, 26 hour fast yesterday, ate last night, and back into the fast tonight. And so I'm right at 24 and a half hours, 24 and a half hours, okay, in terms of my fast. And so let's take a look and we'll see what my blood sugars are doing or have been doing over the course of the last day or so, okay? So let's go ahead and let's pop that up. And so what you'll see coming up right now, this is my Freestyle Libre. And it says that my blood sugar right now is 70. You'll see down there with the white squiggly line in the kind of dull green section, that is 50 to, I think, 150. And so my blood sugars have been a little over 100, below 100, and then at the end of the day kind of jump down below 70. If I go ahead and take a look at my, well, let's see, where is it? Take a look at my Dexcom. This is my G7, And it says the sensor is expiring soon. So we're going to wait for that one to come up because I had the app closed. But while that's doing that, let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars with my monitor. So I've got my Keto Mojo, got my contour. Let's go ahead and get a strip for the contour. And Steve has already put into the chat what he thinks my ketones are going to be. So this is a strip for the contour. And then, of course, I've got strips for blood sugar and for ketones for the Keto Mojo. We'll start with opening the blood sugar strip or glucose strip. And I'm going to go ahead and open this one also. This is the ketone, but I just want to have that ready, if I can get it open. Get that ready off to the side. Okay, this is taking a little more pull tonight. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, there we go. So I got that one open, and get one of my handy dandy Lancets out of my Lancet holder or my tray. Go ahead and grab. I'm gonna get a stick right here. Ow! 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 That better be a good drop of blood because that hurt. All right, let's get that one started. And then, of course, this is my contour. And so the Keto Mojo right now says that I'm 92. And the contour says that I am 86. And while that's doing, let's go ahead and keep this drop of blood going. Get that out. Get the strip in for the ketones. And we'll get that started so we can see what that is here in a little while. Okay, there we go. So get those ketones going. Right, and of course I'm going to tease because I'm not going to show you what it is. And we're going to come back over here. We'll come back and see what that is here in just a little while. But the other thing that we want to do, which I did not talk about a little bit, is we want to do a check-in. So whenever we're talking about making changes, whenever we're talking about improving things, particularly as it relates to health, we want to make sure that we're checking in with ourselves to see how things are working. Are they where we want them? How is our body feeling? Is there anything we need to adjust and tweak and pivot and change? So always doing a check-in with yourself. And here I do a check-in with 3 different areas: how I'm doing physically, how I'm doing mentally, and how I'm doing emotionally. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, because these are the places where people tend to struggle. And so physically, when we talk about physical, often it is a dip in energy. It's feeling like you are exhausted. It's feeling like you hit a wall, that people will say that they feel while they're fasting. A lot of that has to do with their rest, and we talk about that when we do our review of fasting. Join us on Friday, and we'll do that complete review. But right now, I'm not feeling any of those symptoms. I did get good rest, even though I went to bed a little later last night. But I ended up getting, 6 hours or so of sleep, which is more than I normally get, by the way. And actually, I woke up before my alarm, right? So I woke up before my alarm. So that was good. So I'm physically, I'm not feeling drained. I'm not feeling tired. I'm not feeling sluggish. Mentally, feeling pretty alert. Once again, because I did a good job of resting, I am feeling sharp. I'm not feeling like I'm in a bubble, or I'm not feeling like my mentation is slow, that I'm grasping for words or any of those types of things. And then, of course, emotionally, I'm actually doing pretty good. I have been talking with some of our team members as we get into this part of the year, and we've been talking about what do we do in our lives? How do we set ourselves up for success? What are some of the things we need to be putting in place? And those types of conversations, they energize me, right? Whenever we're talking about mindset and growth and personal development. And so even as I was preparing to begin this mini series, just the thought of what we're going to be discussing was exciting to me. And so emotionally, I'm actually doing pretty good, pretty well. Okay. And like I said, we'll come back and we'll take a look at my clarity which is right down below. Well, not clarity yet. I guess it's over here. Let's do this because that was still the comments. So we'll take a look at that here in just a little while, right? But let's go ahead and let's take a look at see who else has joined us. Go back up. So Steve says 1.5 this morning. I see that. Jennifer says nice number, Steve. Steve says thank you, Jennifer. And Jae-yun, hi, doctor. Happen to listen for you. I am from South Korea. I really want to fast, but always end up eating. Well, Jae-yun, thank you for coming through. Glad that you are here. Okay, and saying that fasting is an interesting process. Fasting can be done, and it has to do a lot with preparation. It has to do with what our goals are. It has to do with the pace at which we set our, at which we start. So there's so many different things that happen in fasting, and just stick with us. Stick with it. And I'm assuming that I'm pronouncing that right. Ju-yun, is it Ju-yun or Jae-yun? Give me a phonetic pronunciation there. Jennifer saying welcome to the community. Jae-yun said thank you, Jennifer. She says I have studied English and hard in order to understand you all. I am good at English. Am I good at? You are doing a great job. You're doing a great job. Said I don't have any fasting history since I was born. When I don't eat, I'm very nervous. Any tips? Thank you, Steve, for welcoming. What is time and date of this live? It is 12:50 p.m. in South Korea. Wow. Yeah, so we are 7. Well, we start at 7. Well, right now, we started this as not actually 9:30. Our live, our Dwain Woode MD live, is usually 7 p.m. Central on Monday, 7 p.m. Central. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those times will vary. And those vary depending really on scheduling, on hospital patients I have to see, and so forth. Okay. Jennifer says Dr. Wood has several past shows which discuss this. Plus, your English isn't perfect, but perfectly acceptable. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Doctor. Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer, for jumping in there and welcome. I love this community. Love what we do here. All right, so we are talking about fasting, right? And we're talking about hunger and how hunger works. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about understanding hunger. And really we're talking about the science of hunger. Now you see there it says series introduction, because as I said, I want to spend some time in a kind of a mini series, if you will, talking about hunger. So we'll do this today. We'll do another episode tomorrow in the mini series. We'll do our check-in, our extended check-in on Friday. And then next week, we'll pick up with the mini-series again as we do Wednesday and Thursday, and then, of course, checking in on Friday with the extended discussion of fasting. I think that's the plan, right? I may preempt our review of fasting and maybe shorten it and get this done because there are five episodes in this series. This is number 1. Okay, and I want us to get through those, but we'll see how things go. But that's the plan. So today, tomorrow, in the mini-series, on Friday, we'll do our review of fasting. Next week, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll do mini-series again, and then review of fasting. And then we have one extra episode that we'll do in that following week, but I may add another one so we get a total of 6. But we'll see. Okay, so understanding the science of fasting, fasting. And one of the questions that we should be asking is why is it necessary to understand hunger? Why does it really matter whether we understand hunger or not? And the reason that it really matters is that if we understand hunger, then we have a key to understanding a lot of different things, right? So understanding hunger is key to weight management and metabolic health. Notice that I've lumped all of those in there, but I've separated weight as a separate one, right? So metabolic health is a big one. And the reason I put weight as a separate one is because right now everybody's talking about weight, particularly as we have had a lot of successes with the GLPs. In fact, I think CNN is actually doing a show with Sanjay Gupta, who is going around talking to people about their experiences with GLP. So weight is a big one. It is huge because for the first time in a long time, we have medications that seem to be working and doing a job for us. Okay? And you guys know that we've talked at length here about GLP-1s. In fact, I was on GLP-1 initially and had great success, right? There are community members right now who are taking GLP-1s. And so it's a big deal. That's why I separated weight. But we could lump all the metabolic diseases together, and understanding hunger is a key to effective management of weight and effective management of our metabolism. It also helps us distinguish between true physiologic hunger and psychological cravings. That's a big one. When we talk to clients, we talk to patients, one of the questions I always ask is, what is the difference between hunger and appetite? Right? Hunger and appetite. One is a physiologic hunger that the body needs energy, and the other is a brain thing. It's a psychological issue, right? So that's the difference between hunger and understanding that, helping to distinguish that, helps sets us up for success as we are working through this space. And then it empowers healthier, more conscious eating choices. So if I understand what's going on in my body, I'm more able to deal with choices that I make that are metabolically important, that are metabolically good for me. You know, we've talked about balanced bites, right? Remember that idea of balanced bites that we talked about? And so making choices in the balanced bites, remember balanced bites, every bite counts. So making healthy choices, that's what that's all about. So being able to understand how your body works is empowering, and it gives you the power to make choices in your health and in your eating, right? So making those choices, very, very important. Well, let's talk a little bit more about hunger and appetite. As I said, hunger is a physiologic need for energy. It's driven by internal issues, hormones, nutrient levels. So when the body needs certain things, it will make you hungry. In fact, there are some disease processes, for instance, there are certain anemias where people are craving things that they need. Right? So iron deficiency, people who are pregnant and so forth. And so it is a physiologic, it is something in the body where the body requires nourishment, requires nutrients, requires those things that it needs to survive. Remember, the job of the body is to keep us alive. And so there are things that it needs to help in that process. Appetite, on the other hand, is a psychological desire for food. I'll say that again. So hunger is a physiologic need for energy. Appetite is a psychological desire to eat. It's influenced by external things like stress, emotions, food environment, food smells, right? So all those things will affect our appetite, but it's not hunger. Often we see those things or we feel those things and we say we're hungry, but we have attached the word hunger to something that is not hunger. It is a physiologic or psychologic issue that we're running to. And so recognizing that difference is important because it helps us with better health management. As we learned, as we walked through the COPE model, right? So remember, clarify, observe, pause, and execute. As we walk through that, understanding the differences allows us to apply those principles more effectively. because we understand now the first thought is, okay, I cannot be hungry because I just ate an hour ago. I cannot be hungry because I'm struggling with weight issue. So if I have enough stored energy, I cannot be hungry. I can't be hungry because I just got up off the table and I ate a big meal. Right? So I'm not hungry. It's up here. So hunger and appetite. So what are some key hormones that regulate hunger? Now, I'll tell you, I'm biased. I'm a hormone doctor. And I was telling somebody today that I think all the other organ systems, their main job is to help my hormones get around your body. Right? But hormones are a powerful mechanisms in the body that the body uses to regulate so many different aspects of what it does. So the first one, of course, we have to talk about is ghrelin. Ghrelin is considered the hunger hormone. It's produced in the stomach and it stimulates appetite before meals. So when you are hungry, then ghrelin makes you want to eat. It says, hey, go eat, right? So ghrelin, it comes from the stomach, it goes to the brain, and it says, hey, let's go eat something. So that's ghrelin. Leptin, on the other hand, is the satiety hormone. And it's the one that says, hey, I'm not hungry. So it's produced by fat cells, and it signals fullness, and it sends that signal to the brain. So in your stomach, when your stomach is empty, right, it's not stretched, then ghrelin comes out, says, hey, go eat. And when your stomach is full, then leptin goes out and says to the brain, hey, we don't need to eat anything. Right? So the ghrelin, leptin, hunger, and satiety hormone. And then insulin, and insulin is a big thing that we've talked about at length. It regulates blood sugar and it impacts appetite. Remember, when insulin comes out, insulin is going to make you crave. And that's why one of the pillars is decreasing insulin. Okay? So insulin helps to regulate blood sugar. And then, of course, cortisol is one of those stress hormones. We've talked about three. Epinephrine and cortisol are the main ones that we've discussed. It's a stress hormone that can increase appetite. And when it increases appetite, it doesn't make you crave broccoli or cauliflower or even cabbage. It makes you crave those high-calorie foods, right? It helps us. That's what it helps us do. It helps us, or makes us, I shouldn't say helps us. It makes us crave those foods. And so that we're always looking for chocolate and candies and cookies and ice cream. And you guys saw when I did my show on Monday, when we did the live, I was showing you that I ran into, or I found, a Ben & Jerry ice cream store. Okay. So those are the key hormones. So what is the role of ghrelin? What is the role of ghrelin? So ghrelin, once again, is secreted by the stomach. When levels rise, they rise before meals, and when they rise, they stimulate hunger, and it encourages us to go eat. So ghrelin job is to make us eat. And it has developed in our system to help us seek food, because otherwise we wouldn't eat. And so you eat, you get thin, you get tired, you wouldn't be able to survive. So ghrelin is the hormone that says, hey, no, we need to go find some food. Okay? So once again, stimulates hunger, it encourages food intake. It's influenced by sleep, stress, and fasting. Look at that, right? So all the things we talk about, right? So when you don't sleep well, ghrelin goes up. When you're stressed, ghrelin goes up. When insulin is high, it dysregulates ghrelin. And of course, when we're fasting, right, because that's what we're doing, when we fast, insulin levels go down and it removes that dysregulation that you sometimes will have with ghrelin. That's why one of the benefits of fasting is it helps to regulate your appetite, that control of hunger. It helps to put that back into homeostasis. And homeostasis means same or stability. So when we fast, Normally, we have some dysregulation of our ghrelin and our leptin and our satiety and our hunger, right? Everything is all kind of jumbled up. And when we begin fasting, fasting kind of gets that back in an even keel. Okay, so one of the benefits. All right, so that's the role of ghrelin. Role of ghrelin. So what is the role of leptin? The role of leptin. So leptin is produced by fat cells. It signals to the brain that you're full. So remember, when we eat, the body breaks food down and it stores it into different areas. One of the areas it stores it is in the fat cells. So if those fat cells are getting fuller, then they say, we don't need anything else. And so it sends a signal to the brain and says, stop eating. Okay? There is such a thing called leptin resistance. And leptin resistance is kind of the same idea as when we talk about insulin resistance. And it's the concept that we have leptin, but maybe we don't have enough to signal the brain, or the leptin that we have is not effective. So it's getting to the brain, but it's not producing the outcome that we want. The brain is not responding to it. Okay? So leptin resistance can impair satiety, and it is common in obesity. Now, years ago, when we first discovered leptin, there was a thought that we could replace leptin in people, that we would actually give them leptin. And they did several studies, and it never really panned out because the levels of leptin that they had to give were humongous, right? But there's still lots of research, lots of talk being done to talk about leptin. Because if somehow we can give people leptin, it really does help them say, okay, I'm full. I don't have to go eat. Okay? And so leptin plays a role in long-term energy balance and weight regulation. So if your leptin is low leptin, because remember, leptin is supposed to stop you from eating. If your leptin is low, then you don't get the signal to stop eating. Right? So remember, we're talking about the science of hunger, the science of hunger. So all of these hormones, if they are not functioning well, then our hunger is increased, right? We feel that hunger. Our appetite is stimulated, so we get those cravings. Okay? All right. And then, so insulin and appetite control. Remember, insulin regulates blood sugar levels, right? So when blood sugar levels go up, insulin has to come out. When insulin comes out, it decreases the sugar. But because insulin was there, it stimulated the appetite. And so there are people who they've done a great job all day, and then they take their insulin at night, or whenever they take it, and an hour, 2 hours after they take the insulin, they feel like they're ravenous. They can't get enough to eat. Now, the blood sugars are great. The blood sugars have come down. They're in the normal range. But because insulin was there, insulin is stimulating the appetite. The other thing about insulin is that because it is a growth factor, because insulin came out, even though now the blood sugar is better and the insulin levels are going down, because you're eating, the food that you now eat gets stored. So you eat broccoli, or you eat cauliflower, or you eat lettuce, and that lettuce now gets stored because the insulin came out, and it is a switch that gets turned on anytime insulin is there that says stimulate appetite and begin storing. So we get hungrier and we start putting on weight. And people are like, wait a minute, I'm eating broccoli. Well, you ate broccoli after you ate the cookie. And it wasn't necessarily the calories from the cookie that caused the problem, right? It's probably all the things that you ate after you ate the cookie because your insulin stimulated your appetite. I hope that's making sense, okay? So insulin regulates blood sugar. High insulin levels can drive hunger by dropping blood sugar levels. So not only does it stimulate appetite because that's what it does, but now that the blood sugar levels are starting to go down, that dip in blood sugar, people feel that and they're like, okay, I need to eat something. Right? So that fluctuation that you get. One of the things that we've talked about, and we'll discuss again when we do our review, is that blood sugar, glucose, carbohydrates, it's not really a stable source of energy because it fluctuates so much. That's why ketones are so great, right? Ketones are a cleaner form of energy that the body can use. But blood sugars, they fluctuate, and every time it goes up or drops, that appetite gets stimulated. Okay? And then remember, insulin resistance can lead to constant hunger and difficulty with weight management. So that one of the points I was making today in the office is that a person who is diabetic, type 2 diabetes, they typically have higher insulin levels than, even if they're not taking insulin, like they're not taking insulin shots, but they tend to have higher insulin levels in their body. And that higher insulin level, what do you think that does to appetite? It stimulates the appetite. So people are saying, well, I can't stop thinking about food. I can't stop eating. It just feels like I'm hungry all the time. I get up in the morning, I'm thinking about food. I eat breakfast, I'm thinking about a snack. I eat my snack, I'm thinking about what's for lunch. I eat my lunch and I'm thinking about what I'm having for a snack in the afternoon. When I eat my snack in the afternoon, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for supper. When I eat my supper, hey, what is my bedtime snack? And as I'm going to sleep, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have in the morning for breakfast. That cycle is crazy. Right? So insulin, and appetite. And then, of course, cortisol and stress eating. Cortisol is released during times of stress. Cortisol itself increases appetite because remember, one of the things that epinephrine, so we talked about epinephrine and cortisol. So epinephrine, when it comes out, is another stress hormone. It prepares the body for the energy that cortisol brings to it. So epinephrine says, okay, we see a tiger, we're getting ready to run, we need energy. So, okay, cells, get ready, right? Just open up because we need to get the energy into you as quickly as possible. Epinephrine is getting those cells ready. And then cortisol now goes off and finds sugar. It raises blood sugar. It say, where do you get blood sugar from? Well, hey, I need to mobilize some first from the liver and so all those things. But let's make this person eat so that we can continue to get more food in and we get more energy, we get more sugar, and we can continue running from the tiger, running from whatever. And because our lifestyles are so I was just say so stressful, because our lifestyles are such that we tend to live in a time of chronic stress, and that chronic stress shows up in the body in the same way as if you saw a lion or a tiger and your body needed to run. Okay? All right. So cortisol is released during stress, increases appetite, increases cravings, and is often linked to cravings for calorie-dense rather than calorie nutrient-dense foods, right? So high sugar foods. People love chocolate. They love ice cream. I love ice cream, right? Can't get enough of it. I love pizza, but I can't tell you the last time I had pizza, by the way. Interesting. Chronic stress can lead to overproduction of cortisol, and this contributes to weight gain. So once again, see all these things, they're coming into play, right? All of these hormones, all of these different variables are coming into play, and they all come together to cause high blood sugars, cause weight gain, cause stimulating appetite, right? And people say, I'm hungry. Well, we've already talked about the difference between hunger and appetite, and physiologic versus psychological hunger. I guess I should start using those phrases. But you get the appetite and hunger, right? So how about the brain? The brain plays a big part in what we do. And there are a couple of centers that are important, but one of the biggest one is one called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus, people talk about the pituitary being the master gland, and the pituitary gives off 6 hormones from the front and 2 hormones from the back. So prolactin, FSH, and LH, which control menstrual cycles and sperm development and generation in men. Prolactin is what is responsible for women being able to breastfeed. TSH, which is the thyroid hormone, ACTH, which is the cortisol controlling hormone, and then growth hormone, right? So those are the hormones that it releases. And people talk about it being the master gland, but above the master gland, above the pituitary, there is the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus actually sends hormones to the pituitary that regulate what the pituitary does, right? So really, if we want to call the master gland, it would be the hypothalamus or the controller, right? So the hypothalamus is a key part of the brain that regulates hunger and satiety signals. So when those leptin and the ghrelin go, they're going to the hypothalamus. So disruption of the hypothalamus can cause issues as well. Okay? So hypothalamus. The other is a reward center. And we've talked about rewarding how our body sees the things that we eat. It sees it as a reward. So when we eat things that are highly pleasurable, when we eat high carbs, high sugar foods, then it is a pleasurable sensation. And the body remembers it. And the body releases dopamine, right? Remember, dopamine is that feel-good hormone. It actually even releases it when we anticipate eating something. Right? So you're thinking about eating it. You're creating the story in your head of what it's going to taste like, how it's going to be, what you're going to feel like. And so the dopamine is rising and rising and rising. And the interaction between emotional cues and physiologic hunger signals can happen as well. Right? So all of this is coming together to control and to deal with what we call hunger. So what are some practical implications of this then? Right? So addressing hunger cues can improve metabolic flexibility. So we've talked about hunger cues, right? So when we talked about the heat model, these are triggers. These are the things that are around us that push us to eat. So if we address things around us, that can help us with this idea of hunger. And it helps us with flexibility. So effective, if we understand all of this, it's effective for weight loss and reversing metabolic conditions like diabetes, right? We talked about that. And then awareness helps in making mindful, healthy choices. Remember, you are as good as the information that you have, the perspective you have, the tools that you have. So if you don't have a good way of looking at things, if you don't have tools that help you in the process, then the decisions that we make in terms of our food, that becomes very difficult for us. So understanding what's going on in our bodies, and here's one that I want you to know. And sometimes people, well, let me just say it, and then I'll come back and fix it up. Understand that there are things going on in you, hormonal things that are happening, that will push you with a force that is so strong that it's almost impossible to resist. What I was going to say is sometimes when I say that in certain circles, people think that I'm giving people an out, that I'm giving you an out in, this takes away your personal choice. No, it's not taking away your personal choice. What I'm saying is that there are hormones that are running around in our bodies, and those hormones will make us do things that we don't want to do. You know, you guys were here when we did the exercise of holding your breath. Well, if you hold your breath, you can say you're going to hold your breath. I can incentivize you to hold your breath, but after a while, you're going to breathe. Well, if you're going to breathe, why did you breathe? Because the body made you breathe. Does that mean that you're a weak person? Does that mean that you are immoral? Does that mean that you don't have control? No, that means that your body made you do something that your brain said you weren't going to do. And the same thing happens with hormones. right? They are a powerful cascade. When they happen, right? If we have not put things in place, and I guess let me add that, right? And that is the key. That is the key. That's the whole idea behind understanding the heat model, understanding cope, right? So we're coping, not buffering. If we've put things in place, if we put tools in place, if we have been practicing, if we understand how it works, how our body works, then we're more able to begin chipping away and resisting those surges when the hormone comes. But when that amygdala gets hijacked, in that moment, it is hard to control. Okay. So back to something that I think Jennifer was saying, that she was emotional eating, right? And so as I say to you, and as I say to myself, the emotions are so strong that if we allow them to get to the point where they are on like that roller coaster, that point is difficult. We're gonna eat. Because it's smashing through all the decisions we made. It's smashing through all of the resolutions that we make. It's smashing through everything because that's how powerful it is. And so finding ways to deal with those before they get to where they are, that's key. I have several people that, well, I shouldn't say several, but I have a lot of people that I see. And I say to them, what you need to do is during the day, find some time where you're just pausing. Remember, pause is part of the COPE model. Pausing. You're pausing intentionally. There's nothing going on. There's no stress. There's no, your cortisol is not up. You're not in a difficult situation, but you have practiced to every day put some time in your day where you're pausing. Because every time you pause, you're giving the brain the ability in a stressful situation to pause. But if you don't do that, if you don't practice, then it's hard. Right? We've talked about, holding the golf club. Right? If you don't practice, guess what? It's not happening. Like, I'll tell you, I love music. I love music. And I was listening to some music today, and I imagine myself playing a piano. Now, I play the piano, but not like the way I'm imagining. All right? But unless I sit at the piano and put the time in so that my fingers get that muscle memory, I will not play the way I envision myself playing. And I will not play the way I see other people play because I've not put the time in. Whatever we need, whatever we're doing, we've got to put the time in to be able to do that. Okay? All right. Let's see. So the practical implications. And so, what is our plan? Our plan is this mini-series that we've talked about. And so what we're going to be talking about in our next episode is the role of ketones in hunger suppression. Because we talk about ketones as energy, but ketones also help to suppress hunger. And then we're going to talk about how proteins regulate appetite, because I say that all the time. Eat protein because it helps keep you satiated. Well, how does it do that? Then we're going to talk about fat's role in satiety and fullness. Same idea, because we say, hey, eat healthy proteins, eat lean fat, because those will help you. And then we're going to talk about how do we overcome the hunger. Strategically, how do we do that? And like I said, I may throw another episode in there, a surprise episode, but that's where we're heading over the next several shows. This mini series that we're doing here on understanding the science behind hunger. All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at. Well, before I go, I was gonna say let's take a look at my blood sugars, but let's see. Let's hop over and take some comments. If I can find my. Okay, here it is. So let's see. Dr. Woode has several videos. That was Jennifer jumping in. Jenny said, thank you, Doc. Jenny said, I'm eating lunch now. Hey, what are you having for lunch? Can we come over? Can we have some? Ju Yun said, thank you for teaching us about fasting, which I really which I want to achieve someday. I just eat because time is lunchtime. I want to skip, but always end up eating lunch. Well, one of the things that I want to encourage you with, and for everyone that's there, is when we talk about fasting, fasting is a process. Okay, and let me go over here. So fasting is a process, and so I recommend that people ease into fasting. So if you normally sleep for 8 hours, then when you wake up, you eat, then change that to fasting for 10 hours. Right? Just add another hour, 2 hours to that. When you can do that, then you go to the next 14 hours, and then 16 hours, and then 18 hours, and then 20 hours, and then 22 hours, and then 24 hours. Okay? So you're doing this gradually as you build up stamina. But if you're doing it the first time, then it's going to be difficult. And what I don't want to happen is I don't want you to jump in with both feet and have a poor fasting experience. And then you know what's going to happen? Your brain is going to remember that experience. And every time you want to fast from then on, it's going to be a struggle. There's going to be friction. There's going to be emotional friction. And so I want you to kind of lean into that and do it do it slowly so that we set you up for success. All right. Let's see. June said, I can skip breakfast and dinner, but lunch I cannot skip. Help me. Right. So the same idea. Right. So as you're skipping breakfast and you say you're skipping dinner, well, what you want to do is with the dinner and breakfast, you want to compress your eating window. Right, compress your eating window to a short period. So right now it sounds like, let's see. So if you're eating, you skip breakfast. So dinner you don't eat, and you go all the way to breakfast. You skip breakfast, and then you eat at lunch. So let's do this. Let's plan. Right? Let's plan that my eating window is going to be lunchtime to 2 hours after lunch. Right? So that gives us a 22-hour fasting window. Let's plan that that's what we're going to do. And let's get good at doing that. And if 22 is too long, let's plan, because it sounds like you're doing, depending on how often you're eating in the eating time, you can do an 18-hour. Right? 18-4. So that's is it 4? 18-6. 18-6. So what you want to do is you want to compress the eating window to something that's comfortable for you. Once you get successful at that, then you can move to the next phase. Okay. So Steve says, when I have hunger, I take Dr. Wood's advice. I find an activity to do. That's also a great idea, Steve. Thank you for throwing that in. So you want to distract yourself. Now, if you're at work, depending on what you're doing, work itself is distracting, and so if you have said, okay, I'm compressing my window, I'm extending my window, whichever you're going to do, and so I've got that in place, and now I am busy, then that sets you up for even better success. Right? And one of the things that we didn't talk about here, but we'll talk about as we do our review, is making sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods during your eating window, so that when you come into the fast, then your body is not craving any of those things, because if it does, then that's going to set you up for difficulty as well. So Juyan says, I fail appetite anytime. He says, I love ice cream big time. Oh, yeah, I know. I have the ice cream love also, but I avoid it. My wife makes me some sugar-free desserts that don't cause sugar spikes. Yeah. I remember those desserts. Steve says, classic rock. He says, I eat meat and sweet potato and cookies. Sweet potato and cookies. Okay. So here and probably good time for beginning to think about some other episodes that we need to do is, so is it true that a diabetic or someone who's working in this metabolic space, right? Because it goes for everybody, cannot eat sweets? Right? So that's going to be a good question for a show. But let me preempt that by saying this, is that it's not that you can't eat it, but you have to understand yourself, and you have to understand what the sweets do to you. Like, I have not had Ben and Jerry's ice cream in over a year. Actually, much more over a year. And people say, "Oh, you're depriving yourself." No, 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 no. I eat what I want. You guys know that, right? So I eat a lot of stuff that I want. But I know that there are certain things that I do not currently have the tools or the ability to manage. And Ben and Jerry's ice cream is one of them. Ben and Jerry's ice cream, Cherry Garcia. And it's Cherry Garcia. Okay? So when I eat that, it's going to be, yeah. You guys may not see me on the show for a couple of weeks. It's like, whatever. You remember we used to have that show with Dr. Woode? Whatever happened? It's like right? He lost his mind. He's off somewhere, tracking down. He's following the Ben and Jerry's ice cream truck. So I know myself. So I don't do it. I see it at the when I go to the grocery store, but I don't get any because I know, like, I'll eat other ice cream, like I'll eat chocolate and vanilla and strawberry, whatever other ice cream is there, I'll eat it, but I don't eat Ben and Jerry's. Well, I don't eat the Cherry Garcia because they have other ones as well. Because I know what happens to me, so I'm protecting myself. Okay, so it's not that people can't eat, and like I said, that's probably going to be a whole conversation for a show. But you got to know yourself. Got to know yourself. And Steve says, yes, you're saving. That's right, Steve. I'm saving myself. He says the ice cream detox. Ice cream detox. I love that. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars. All right. So here is my Dexcom Clarity report. And my average blood sugar, according to this, over the last 14 days has been 126. You'll see that there. And I'm in target 95% of the time. Target being between, let's get this one, 95% of the time. Target being 70 to 180. And my glucose management indicator is 6.3. So if I were to get an A1C based on the last 2 weeks, then my A1C would approximate a 6.3. Remember, the GMI, or glucose management indicator, is a surrogate. It's an estimate of what the A1C would be. But we can't call it an A1C because it's not an A1C. It's an estimate. It's a calculation. If I look at my graphs, or look at this over the last 90 days, you'll see that my average blood sugar has been 134. I'm in target 88% of the time, target being anywhere from 70 to 180, and my glucose management indicator is a 6.5, right? So if I were getting A1C based on the last 90 days, it would be a 6.5. In our community meetup last week, we shared what my A1C was, and so make sure that you join us for this month. For our community meetup, and you'll get to see some things that everybody else doesn't get to see. All right. And if I look at my daily graph, this will pull up. And as I said, I started fasting on Monday. So let's go back there. And so let's see. So Monday, I started fasting right after our show, right here somewhere. Okay, so 180. And then I went all the way up to last night and was fasting, and then I broke the fast. Now here's look at this. So even though I broke the fast last night, right, look at what my blood sugars were. And so I did a good job. I did a good job of what I ate, so it didn't show up as too terrible. And for some reason I don't have, why is it not showing today? Let's see, I want to see today. Um, 90 days. Oh, okay, here it is. Let me see. I need to do this. So I'm going to bring this down one day, go one day further, and then this one day. There we go. Let's see if it brings that up now. I think it was telling me I was more than 90 days. Okay, there it is. Yeah. So now here is, so I started fasting last night, and then tonight at 24, 25, 26 hours now, my blood sugar is 88. Okay? And then let's hop over and let's take a look at what my monitor is saying. Let's get this one off. Let's go ahead and pop this. And then I need to go open up my, let's see, there you go. Get this guy. My Keto Mojo app. And let's turn on. And Steve said it was, he thinks it was 0.5. And it's sinking. All right, drum roll, please. And ketones are low. Wow, look at that. Okay, so glucose is 92, and ketones are low. So remember, ketones that are less than 0.5 considered normal, which is here, no low ketones. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then 0.5 above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So if I look at my graph, you'll see that the turquoise line, those are the ketones, and the ketones have gone down. They went down as I started eating. So the tan line is the blood sugar. So as the blood sugar went up, ketones went down, because ketones and insulin can't be in the same space. So as my blood sugars went up, insulin came out, and when insulin came out, ketones have to go away, right? So remember, they can't be in the same space. They're kind of like matter and antimatter. If you come together, they'll explode. All right, so low. And so it will be interesting to see what those numbers are as we move into the rest of our fast. Okay, so a little over 25 hours now in this week's fast, and so very excited that we are there. All right, so let's do this. Let's talk, and we'll start with this. I want to start with balanced bites. Remember, as we're talking about food, there is a type of food, there is a group of foods that we are talking about eating. Or I shouldn't say a group of food. It is a way of eating, because it's not a group. It is a concept that we are using in our eating. Every bite counts. Let me say that again. Every bite that you eat counts. And so, let's see, let me go ahead and pop this up. Of course, now I can't find it. So what I wanted to do was okay, here it is. I think this is it. I want to talk about balanced bites, right? So balanced bites are very important, and they are a direct outgrowth of things that we've done, things that we've talked about. And let me pop over to this one. Let's see. Direct outgrowth of what we've talked about, the things that we've been doing here, right? So balanced bites. Whole foods, minimize processing foods, no added sugar, lean protein, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, tasty and flavorful, and portion controlled. That's a balanced bite. If you follow this, you are setting yourself up for success with your eating. If you follow this, then you will minimize the spikes in blood sugar. If you follow this, then you're minimizing the amount of insulin your body has to make. If you follow this, then you're minimizing the weight that you put on. If you follow this, you're minimizing the rise in blood sugar. You're decreasing your A1C. You're improving your metabolic health. You're improving your cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Balanced bites. Fuel your body with balanced bites. That's the whole idea behind nutrient-dense foods. Right? So balanced bites, very important that I want to make sure that you are understanding. That's what we want to do. Balanced bites. And you'll hear more and more of this, because that is so important. The things that we put in our bodies Very important in how our body responds and what our body does. Okay. Remember also that there are things that push us in a direction to break our fast, to break our eating plan. Those are the triggers, the habits, the emotions, the access, the taste of foods. All of those are big components, and understanding how this affects our bodies, very, very important. All the things that we do, I want you to know that you could live a limitless health experience. Limitless living. Limitless living. We talked about the infinity sign. So infinity, we have infinite potential to change what we do. We can make the decision. And we learn how to do that with the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, educate with the podcast, educate with the blogs. We encourage with the tools, or we empower with the tools that we do, and then we encourage with the community that you are so much a part of. You enrich the community as we move forward. Remember our pillars for diabetes: reversing diabetes, decrease insulin, suppress the appetite, and reduce sugar. If we do that, right, and we can do that with balanced bites, by the way, right? Balanced bites, right? Just like fasting is a huge tool, balanced bites also big tool in what we do, because it can hit several of those pillars as well. As a matter of fact, balanced bites hits all the pillars also. That's why it's such a big deal. And when you show up here, make sure that you are share your story, right? You're joining the challenges, right? Don't just let it be things that go on the shelf that you hear. Begin implementing. Get into the practice of doing the challenges. When you come, tell us where you are. Are you having successes? Are you having some challenges, like Ju Yun is saying, right? Jennifer talked about what's going on with her, right? So we are a community, and we want you to know it's not just you. You're not just the only one that's out there having challenges, and you know other people in the community that also are having successes, right? You're not by yourself, and it can be done. And then share it with somebody else. Bring a friend. Let them know that this is a place where they can come and they can be successful in their metabolic disease and reversing their diabetes. As I always say, I am excited always to be in this space with you, because I get to hang out, I get to talk with you, I get to share, and I get to hear some of the successes that you guys are having as well. Okay, just want to give another plug for this mini series that we're doing right now, and it's understanding. All right, we're talking about understanding the science of hunger, and we've got several episodes that we're going to be doing. Our next one is the role of ketones in hunger suppression, then how proteins regulate the appetite, then fat's role in satiety and fullness, and then overcoming the hunger, or overcoming hunger strategically, right? So, as I say, let me take a look to see if we got any comments out there. Let's got this. There we go. And let's see. Ice cream detox. Jennifer says, "Shut up. Just shut up on the ice cream." I love it, Jennifer. I love it. See, and so here comes Lightworks, and see now Lightworks is also putting in some stuff, right? Because now we're talking about Haagen-Dazs rum raisin. So if I had to rank ice cream, it's Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia, Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia, and then it would be Haagen-Dazs rum raisin. How did you know? Lightworks said, "Hi, I'm always getting the tail end." Jennifer says, "Welcome. Hello, Lightworks." Hi, Jen. Hi, Steve. What do you think about carnivore eating only meat? Well, here's my thought on all of the diets. And we talk diets, and people talk about using different words. It's a diet. It's a lifestyle. It's a plan. So I don't want people to do something for a couple of weeks. I want them to, whatever we're going to do, we're going to incorporate. Now, here's the thing about, and I'm coming to your specific question in a minute. Here's the thing about all the things we do in our metabolism. Okay. And I liken this to the seasons of a year, right? So we've got winter when nothing's going on. For instance, my lawn, right? Winter's coming, winter's here. We're not cutting the lawn, right? All the stuff, all the tools are up. Come spring, we begin to do some stuff. They come and they aerate the lawn. They put the little pellets down, and right, all the things go on. And then come summer, we start cutting. And first, we're cutting once every 2 weeks. And then as the rain comes and the summer goes on, we're cutting twice a week, or once a week, or once every other week, right? And so we're getting shorter and shorter, and we're cutting more and more because the lawn is growing. And then when the fall comes, we begin cutting back. And then winter comes again, and we're not doing anything. Okay? So just like the seasons, there are tools that you have that you can use at different times. So people think that once they decide that they're going to do ketogenic diet, that they've got to do ketogenic forever. No, you can do ketogenic for 3 months. And then when your life circumstances change, then you'll do a Mediterranean for 3 months. And when that changes, you'll fast for 3 months, right? So that's what we're doing. We're using the tools, but we are deciding when the tools are going to be used. So it's not that, okay, man, I've got to eat this food forever, right? We could change it around. And we can incorporate different things. One of the things that I talked about, I forgot which episode it was. Well, what do I do on my non-fasting days? Right? What kind of food do I eat? Well, I eat food that is consistent with what we talk about, right? Balanced bites. That's where that comes from. And I do usually a 16-8 fasting, intermittent fasting. Right. So, but it depends. So I'm using fasting, our fasting that we do here, our extended fasting. That's the main the anchor for what I do. But I'm doing other things in the space that are helping me be successful. Right. As a matter of fact, I went to a grocery store right before I came home, and one of our stores, they have a brand of protein shakes. And so as we get into new space, and we'll be talking more about that, I went and I got some protein shakes, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start having a protein shake once a day. Right? And we'll talk more about where that comes in. But my point in saying that is that you can do different things. So now back to the question. So all of the diets work. All of the meal plans, all the eating styles work if they fit into your schedule and fit into your lifestyle. Right? There is absolutely no reason that we need to eat carbohydrates. Let me say that. Like, there's no physiologic reason why we need to eat carbs. Right? Because our bodies have the ability to generate sugar from the fat stores. Remember that glycerol component of the triglycerides? So if you're eating a carnivore diet, right, unless you're a very, very thin person, right, then, of course, then we say, hey, you got to bulk up a little bit. But it's perfectly fine. Now, you got to be careful to make sure that it's lean protein, right, balanced bites, once again, lean protein, so that you are having a balance of fat and protein in what you're eating. And that helps in the process. Okay? All right. And then let's go back over. Back here. Okay. What do you think about carnivore diets? Julian said, what is balanced bites? And so balanced bites, back in, I don't know, February, March or so, we did several episodes where we talked about the types of foods that we should eat. Right? We came up with a menu. We came up with criteria for the types of foods. And that is encapsulated in what you hear me talking about as balanced bites. And so for those of you who've been following us, by the way, right? So all of our community members and now you, Juyun. So balanced bites comes from this show, comes from this community. This isn't something that we got from elsewhere. We created that here. Right? As we were going through and as we're talking about the foods and so forth, remember that challenge that we had? The concept of balanced bites, that was in the challenge. That was the types of foods, but I've just formulated that and come up with this idea of balanced bites. So that's balanced bites is a Dwain Woode MD development. It's a development that we've created here in this space. So that's what balanced bites are. And I think, let's see, let me do it this way. Let me come here first. And I think I had that up. Let me put that up really quickly again. So balanced bite, there he is. Whole foods, minimize processing, no added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starch, non-starchy vegetables, tasty, flavorful, portion controlled. Okay? Now, so that's what that is. I was going to do some other explanation, but that's okay for now. All right. And then let's get back over here. And we were looking at comments. What do you think about balance bites? Thank you, Doctor. When is the next live? Next live is going to be tomorrow. And tomorrow's Thursday. We'll try to do that around the same time, 9:30-ish, right? But that depends, right? But keep an eye out. Doctor appointment at 11:11, so we shall see if I made any positive changes. Awesome. So let us know. Let us know. Can that be great grass-fed meat? Is it okay to eat normal meat? Yes. Okay. I'm just going to say yes. Right. We start where we are. Awesome. All right. Well, as I always say, glad to be here with you. Glad to be in this place. Glad to have you as part of our community. Right. Everyone counts. Right. So just like we have balanced bites, every bite counts. Every person counts. So I need to create something for that as well. So you are important to the community. You are important to me. You are important to our health. You are important to your family and to the places where you find yourself. So thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you at our next episode. Good night, everybody.